I had a mental breakdown. All right, guys, I'm gonna sip my coffee. All right, where did we leave off? So, I was telling you something deep and dark. I had a mental breakdown. Um, when I left West Virginia, I had a lot of issues and a lot of problems after dealing with the pandemic. They put us in situations where we shouldn't have been, especially with COVID, people dying, people getting sick. So out of those circumstances, I had a mental breakdown. And they wanted me to resign my contract. And I remember telling them no. Like, they wanted to sign me for 2 more years. And I said, absolutely not, especially with them only paying me, believe it or not, probably $12 back then an hour. My life was much more than that. So I went home. I went home for 6 months, took a break, and I needed that break because I remember being in the grocery store, and that's when I remember I had the worst breakdown. My mother had just asked me a question. She just asked me what kind of turkey meat I wanted for my sandwiches, and I just stood in the middle of the grocery store crying, just crying, and I didn't understand why I was crying. So I needed that break, and I'm glad I took it. Talking about West Virginia, a lot of memories there, outdoors and adventurous. But I knew I needed 6 months to myself, and I took those 6 months. But I knew I couldn't come home, and I didn't want to stay home, and just I have done so many things in my life. I mean, I had went to LA, I went to New York, I went to different states, different events. I just knew, like, Gastonia wasn't for me, and I just couldn't stay there. So I started reapplying for more TV jobs at that time. And finally, another knock on the door came, and that's when I ended up in New Bern, North Carolina. I was in the same state this time. And, I was going to be a little closer to home, but not really because West Virginia was closer than New Bern. New Bern was about 4.5 hours away from home. So it seems like I had a pattern because Michigan, um, I was in a small town in Alpena, and that was 4 hours away from the airport in Detroit to get home. So it's like I had a pattern, and then I ended up 2 hours away from home in West Virginia, and then back to 4.5 hours away from home again in New Bern. So New Bern brought its ups and downs, different rodeo. We dealt with hurricanes. We dealt with, just a lot of problems surrounding the water because we were on the coast. So I dealt with, storms, um, just high tides, things like that. And that was a different danger because we were put in those situations with water at this time, and I could have drowned. I remember me and my coworker, we were supposed to tie each other up with a rope by the waist. He was my photographer, basically. And I was the reporter out in a storm, I remember. And we were supposed to tie each other up with a rope if anything happened. So we wouldn't, get drifted off into the water. What am I doing out there? Yeah, some may ask. I still ask myself today, why did I do certain adventurous, wild things? But, being a Sagittarius, I guess I'm kind of spontaneous. And, I don't think twice about life. And I know you're going to live life to the fullest, and you should. And that's what I'm doing now. Um, but yeah, I was in some situations there. But this came at the time where I felt like I knew that maybe I didn't want to be that girl on CNN or Good Morning America anymore, or, make it to the number one news market in New York. Because I had already been to New York, and I didn't like the fact that I would have to live with 6 people and share one bathroom. No, I don't think so. Because I had actually did that and experienced that with the magazine company that I was with. Um, so yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit too. in the middle of reporting in radio, I did a lot of freelancing as well. So I worked for this magazine company online, and I would do stories for them in New York as well. But that was way before news. But I was just talking about New York, so that's why I told you about that. But back to New Bern, it wasn't getting any fun anymore. I wasn't having fun anymore, should I say? Excuse my properness. I'm trying not to be proper, but just trying to be myself here and just speak. But um, news wasn't fun anymore, and I started to notice that in New Bern, and that's when my sister became pregnant, and I just knew I wanted to be closer to home and see my niece grow up. And I just noticed that, this life wasn't getting any better, and I wanted to, experience other things. So I don't know if it was the Lord calling or what, but some things led to situations where I ended up losing my job there in New Bern. I got laid off, believe it or not. That was my first layoff. And but it was weird. It was like God was allowing me a breather again because I had took 6 months off before I transitioned from West Virginia into New Bern. And funny, you know how they say you better network? Yeah, your girl networked because I ended up working at the hospital, the local hospital there, while I got laid off, and only had to work there for only 2 months because after that, life happened again. Doors started opening again. I got an agent. And then I ended up in another city. Believe it or not, after 2 years only in New Bern, your girl had her fourth news job. And I know you're probably saying, why did I continue and continue to go back into this industry if I felt like I knew I wanted to get out? When you're a single woman and you have everything on the line, and people are so proud of you, and you just feel like you have this status to uphold, um you know small town girl doing big things, people look at you. And I could say now that, yeah, I used to freaking um worry about what people would say, but if I worried about what people would say, I probably wouldn't be able to do this, because you got to have tough skin. I'm opening up my life to you. I'm telling you my journeys. I hope to write a memoir one day. I mean, you just have to have tough skin. And if you worry about what anyone says about you, you're not going to get anywhere. So I advise whoever's watching this, my viewers, don't worry about what people think of you. Do you and be whatever you want. Whatever's keeping you up at night, do it. Whatever you dream about, do it. Whatever you see yourself doing, do it. I did it. I'm still doing it. I'm a little bit shy to actually tell my own stories, believe it or not, because I've been telling stories for years, but here I am. I'm doing it. So, you want to know more about my fourth news station? Well, I'll tell you up next week.